This week on his radio show, Howard Stern defended wokeism, saying it's a compliment when someone calls him woke. Listen.
If woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, well, dude, call me woke as you want. I'm not for stupidity, but I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it.
Oh dear, he swore. He swore that'll win over the woke. He's a regular Huey Newton of the Hamptons.
Well, I know some of them, and like Howard, I was on Howard Stern's show as much as anybody, and
yeah.
he was great at that time, and then he went woke.
Yeah.
And since he's gone woke, his ratings have...
Howard Stern didn't just sell out, he threw a clearance sale on his whole legacy. Greg Gutfeld and Donald Trump stormed in with receipts and lit the place up with fireworks. Once the king of controversy, Stern has now become the butler of bland, and the shift is so ridiculous it practically demands mockery. Gutfeld slices with sharp wit, Trump charges through with joy, and together they turn Stern's fall from fearless to forgettable into a roast you can't ignore. This isn't a comeback, it's a comedy crash. Have a look.
Well, it is weird because he criticizes Trump for dividing the country, and then he says he hates his supporters. So he's not learning from his own analysis. I think he might have turned into the thing he hated. He needs to go back and watch the movie Private Parts and focus on how he portrayed Don Imus, because he's kind of turned into Don Imus in a way. It's a mix of ego and resentment.
Howard Stern, he's a weak guy. He's weak. He's going, what about, it was so ridiculous. Even she was embarrassed. It was like softball.
Howard Stern, the self-declared king of all media, has now crowned himself the king of meltdowns. It's almost unreal watching a man who built his name by throwing verbal firebombs at the system suddenly transform into a gated community gossip ant, gasping at the mere sound of independent thinking. If irony were cash, Howard would be flooding the market faster than the Fed in crisis mode. This is the same man who once growled at conformity, yet now he dances straight into every mainstream script like he's begging for a guest spot in a CNN fluff segment.
Stern can call snacking with celebs at a fancy restaurant exhausting. Exhausting. Like he finished the overnight shift in a coal mine, or hearing Kat talk about her pets.
Fair.
But I get it, life is tough, especially when you've been cut off from the world for 2 years in a $20 million beach house. I mean, you have no idea how tiring it is walking all the way from the wine cellar to the tennis court and back.
Greg Gutfeld didn't even need a full monologue to tear down the new Howard, just a mirror. That's all it would take, Stern staring at the bold rebel he once was and the sanitized shell he's become. This isn't a simple change, it's a full system reboot, rewritten in pure fear, dripping with hypocrisy and soaked in hand sanitizer. Then comes Trump, not quiet or careful, but roaring in like a sledgehammer strapped to a bald eagle. Watching him talk about Howard now is like a rock legend chuckling at a wedding DJ. It's not rage, it's total disbelief.
The opposite of woke to me is asleep, and I think I'm awake. This must have gotten Trump all charged up, because at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, technically Sunday morning, he starts tweeting out, Howard Stern is a broken loser, jerk off, not loyal, the usual, tirade. And I thought to myself, I'll tell you my thought on it was, what?
Howard Stern went from the guy who pushed every button in the room to the guy who asked for permission just to use the microwave. Remember when he used to be edgy? When he made late night hosts sweat and radio stations tread lightly? Now he makes Joy Behar seem like a stand-up comic at a biker rally. He's not dangerous anymore. He's been sanded down, polished up, and shrink-wrapped like a fragile item labeled, handle with care.
That Stern hit a chic restaurant in NYC with a crew of A-listers, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, John Hamm, Justin Theroux, Jason Bateman. I was not invited. I guess because my first name doesn't begin with the letter J.
Greg Gutfeld calls out Stern's downfall like a comic ripping apart a fake Hollywood awards speech. The rebel he once was is now the punchline, mocking the very celebrities he now clinks glasses with on the same luxury yacht he used to blast. He didn't just switch sides, he's polishing their sunglasses now. Stern once tore into celebrities with no mercy, now he's their pool boy. The man who once roared against the mob now lives in fear of cancellation, peeking through the blinds like the internet's waiting with pitchforks and trending hashtags.
Howard, I knew him very well. I was on his show many times. I used to think he was good. Then I dropped him, and I dropped him like a dog. And his ratings are very challenged. Very challenged.
Honestly, might be true, but the old Howard wouldn't have flinched. That guy would have gone live and dared the outrage mob to come for him. This new version, he's apologizing before the punchline even leaves his mouth. It's not growth, it's a backward slide. It's like watching Benjamin Button, but for a media persona on damage control. Meanwhile, Trump watches Stern's collapse like a lion chuckling at a declawed cat trying to growl. He doesn't even have to say much, just being around makes Stern spiral into another panicked, pre-scripted meltdown. Howard's now so terrified of offending anyone, he probably won't even toast bread without checking if the Gluten-Free Alliance gives their blessing. And Gutfeld, he dives in with the confidence of 10 smug professors and the blunt honesty of a barstool philosopher, shredding Stern's sanitized persona like a sitcom character nobody wanted. He doesn't just call him fake, he calls him boring, and in media, that's worse than being dishonest. A liar might keep things interesting, but Howard, he's just a rerun of his own downfall. Watching him go from rebellious icon to woke hall monitor is almost sad. The man who once smashed barriers now tiptoes around imaginary lines. He used to flip off the rule book, now he's knitting it a cozy cover.
Also, vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. You know, to keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
With that trademark smirk, Gutfeld jokes that Howard's mic should come with a seatbelt and a corporate-approved apology guide. Every broadcast now feels like it's been triple-checked by an HR team scared of a sneeze. And his interviews, once raw and wild, they've turned so sanitized, it's like he's chatting with bacteria in a petri dish. Meanwhile, Trump, wherever he is, tosses shade like confetti without even slowing down. To him, Howard's just another media has-been clawing for attention by clinging to the same coattails he once set ablaze. He doesn't even have to say anything cruel, just pointing out Howard's current clique is enough to spark a fit of laughter. Because let's face it, Howard used to roast these very people. Now, he's hosting them with open arms like a concierge for recycled Hollywood takes. He's not the hand-biter anymore, he's the bootlicker. And not even the luxury kind, just the off-brand ones that scream desperation for elite acceptance.
Kat, I find that his definition of wokeism is very simplistic. I mean, it's like, it's not about COVID jabs.
I didn't get that either. He was like, I love the vaccine, I'm woke.
It's not unlike Howard Stern. I mean, talk about a transition. On Tuesday, he conducted an interview with Kamala Harris that was so simpering and feminine, I got my period while listening to it.
Howard still clings to the idea that he's a rebel, like saying, I used to be wild somehow earns him credibility, as if a guy in a leather jacket at a retirement home ranting about the glory days is still dangerous. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld is slicing through Stern's act with surgical precision, scalpel in one hand, punchline in the other, and why hold back? Stern practically parodies himself at this point. The man who once ruled uncensored radio now filters every thought through a committee before daring to speak. It's like a punk band reuniting just to play elevator music. Sure, the names are familiar, but the fire is gone. Trump doesn't feel threatened, he's entertained. Watching Howard grasp at relevance while his edge collects dust is like watching a fireworks show with no spark. Trump could sneeze and generate more buzz than a whole month of Stern's filtered rants. In those ratings, let's not even pretend. Howard used to dominate the charts, but now his numbers are the kind of slide you skip in a meeting. His audience didn't just vanish, they outgrew the act and saw through the illusion. Stern didn't get canceled, he left his real fans behind to chase compliments from celebrities who wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes on his old show.
Even when I watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you, I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of.
Oh my God.
There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now, I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, I think it's literally on the line.
So a guy who's supposed to be funny for a living now claims her candidacy is too important to joke about. This is a guy who once joked right after the Columbine massacre that the killers should have raped the students before killing them. Not that I like that shirt.
Gutfeld seals the takedown with comedic napalm, the kind that only burns when it's laced with truth. He doesn't just mock Stern's downfall, he spotlights the giant hole left behind when the loudest voice in media turns into a whisper. The silence isn't peaceful, it's unsettling. Stern used to challenge everything, now he sticks to the script like it's sacred. The man who built an empire on unpredictability has become so predictable you could set your alarm by his next nervous backpedal. And that panic, it's not just in his voice, it's written all over his choices. He's walled himself off with yes men, echo chambers, and desperate handshakes from the dying arms of legacy media. Stern isn't trying to shake the world anymore. He's just trying not to ruffle feathers. And for someone who once lived to be the storm, that's a heartbreaking fade out. Trump doesn't even blink, because what can Howard possibly do now? Lecture him? That's like a balloon scolding a tank. One hit of raw truth and Stern floats off, clutching his vintage ego like a life preserver. The old Howard would have torn the room down and smiled in the fire. The new Howard, he's checking if he needs clearance to think out loud. This isn't growth, it's a full deletion of character.
It is incredibly brave to take this stance after you've made $400 million not being woke, right? Loving Donald Trump, exploiting the mentally ill, wearing blackface. Look at the crop of woke comments, whether it's Stern or Jimmy Kimmel, his BFF, Sarah Silverman, Joy Behar, Michael Ian Black. What do they all have in common? They wore blackface. And then they went woke. It's not a chicken or egg thing there. You know what order it came. So I call this BFR. It's blackface reparations. There's nothing in Stern's previous career that could withstand this modern witch hunt that he now embraces.
Every time Howard tries to claw back relevance, Greg Gutfeld is right there, like a walking scoreboard, reminding everyone of what Stern was and what he sold out to become. He's not just a critic, he's the mirror Stern refuses to look into. Because once you become the very thing you vowed to destroy, the only ones who stick around are those who never knew the real you. Howard isn't evolving, he's hiding in plain sight. And even chameleons manage a better disguise than this. Stern's rewriting his story just to stay in history's good graces. But history doesn't forget, and Gutfeld reads every page out loud, tearing through every contradiction. And Trump, he's that pesky footnote Howard can't erase, the one that keeps trending while Stern sinks. The fierce voice of rebellion has now morphed into a soft-spoken echo chamber with salon-quelled hair. Stern used to rip celebrities apart, now he chauffeurs them home. He threw punches, now he throws catered events. And Gutfeld's final burn? Howard's not outrageous, he's just dull. For a man who once ruled through shockwaves, fading into beige irrelevance is the ultimate betrayal even his most loyal fans can't ignore.
I really had an exhausting weekend. Emotionally, physically. For the first time in 2 years, I ventured out of the house. Now, maybe he's exaggerating. We all do that. In fact, the more successful you get in media, the more exhausting the easiest things become.
And Donald? He's watching the whole meltdown like a guy at a demolition derby who bet the building would fall sideways and is now enjoying every glorious second of it in slow motion. This isn't some inspiring reinvention, it's a full-blown surrender. Howard Stern didn't ascend to a higher place, he sank deep into the couch cushions of celebrity comfort, buried beneath throat pillows stitched with safe, lukewarm takes. He's not making headlines anymore. He's reading them like they're landmines, slow and cautious, terrified that one misstep might cost him another invite to some dull industry dinner. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's pen is slicing cleaner than ever, and Trump's joyriding circles around Stern's reputation like recess never ended. Howard's biggest fear now isn't being controversial. It's being forgotten. And that ship didn't just sail, it dragged the whole harbor behind it. He's become the caution sign, the rebel who got housebroken, the warrior with a mic who swapped his roar for red carpet smiles and spritzer selfies. Gutfeld keeps laughing, Trump keeps cruising, and Howard, he just keeps apologizing. The once maverick of radio is now just a faint echo in the valley of conformity. Once feared, now forgotten. Once raw, now bubble wrapped and shelved next to corporate America's gluten-free snacks.
He swore that'll win over the woke. He's a regular Huey Newton of the Hamptons. Here's my theory. Wokeism is a contagion. Stern got it from Jimmy Kimmel, his new best friend, and Kimmel got it from his wife, and his wife got it from where you get all infections, a toilet.
No punchline needed. Howard Stern is the punchline now. And the wildest part? He keeps adding new chapters to his own mockery. Just when you think he's peaked in self-parody, he shows up with another over-polished monologue that sounds less like radio and more like a LinkedIn post ghostwritten by a PR intern sipping oat milk. The guy who once torched Hollywood elites with a flamethrower is now desperately begging for a seat at their tofu brunch table. His proudest moment now? Telling who didn't get offended. That's the bar. Not how bold he is, but how safe he's managed to become. Gutfeld doesn't even need new jokes. He just replays old Howard clips and points. That guy had guts? The Howard of today? He's got a Netflix account and stage fright. And Trump? He doesn't need a writing team. One offhand comment from him lands harder than Stern's entire sanitized show. His downfall isn't tragic, it's comedy gold. Because it's all on tape. Every U-turn, every watered down pivot, every cringe moment of chasing elite approval, it's right there in HD. No mask, no mystery, just a highlight reel of contradictions. And while Howard sinks in praise from the very people who used to tremble at his name, Gutfeld and Trump are out there doing what Howard only pretended to do, calling out the circus, not performing in it.